Good afternoon, folks. It's your old pal Colby Evans here with episode 2 of Backmarker Battles, my brand new show. Thank you guys for tuning in today. We have a huge show planned with a Kansas review and a Martinsville preview of all the action. First off, I do want to address, sorry last week's episode did not happen. As you guys saw from yesterday's ARCA podcast, I was in Kansas. I was packing, prepping, and getting all the materials I needed. I was actually going to do an episode of Backmarker from my hotel room. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi connection I couldn't get my computer to stay loaded properly. So I didn't want to start streaming and then have it die right in the middle of it. You know, you guys don't deserve that. So just went ahead and postponed it for a week. But it was in a way, it was a good idea because we had a lot of changes this week that we're going to get into. So let's get right into it. Follow me at Startin' Park Car on Twitter. Follow ARCA Racing on Twitter. And follow the old good buddy Brad Smith on Twitter as well. All right, let's get right into it. Although they did not have a race this past weekend, the Truck Series returns for its second-to-last race of the season. We have 41 entries on the list, and that means the underdog favorite of the world, Norm Benning, sadly does not get to race. As many of you guys have seen this season, it's been a really tough go for poor Norm with the whole nose situation back at Gateway and overall just being called for too slow too often. And while I do feel bad for Norm in some ways, not having him in the race is not the end of the world. You know, I mean, personally, I'd rather have the 49 truck in, mainly because they're a little bit more competitive. Roger Rios is not the best on the ovals. I don't think he's even been to Martinsville before, but I still think he'll probably be faster and better than Norm. That's taking nothing away from Norm. It's just, you know, the older he gets, the older his equipment gets. You know, he'll be 70 in January, and hard to believe he's 70 considering he's looked the same for about the last 2 decades. But unfortunately, with this no practice and qualifying and the 40 truck rule, Norm being 42nd in owner points, reared its ugly hand, unfortunately, for him. And no Norm Benning, and arguably what's the second closest race to his home is Martinsville. I believe it is Martinsville is the second closest race. No, I believe that is. Obviously, the closest one to his home is Pocono. So that's a shame for Norm that he couldn't even race the track that's pretty close to his home and not even have to, you know, drive that far. Our top 36 trucks, the cut line was pretty much the last 4 in line that decided to enter. The 49 truck of CMI Motorsports the 49 truck of CMI Motorsports to 10, Jennifer Jo Cobb, 33 of Josh Rayom. And since I do not see the 66 truck entered, that would then move up to the 41 of Dawson Cram, unfortunately. So our trucks that look like we'll be getting not full purse money, and from what I've seen, number of counts of around $3,500 is what I've seen for the trucks. That will be the 41 team, 33 team, 10 team, and 49 teams, respectively, which I feel bad for Dawson Cram that those guys have really struggled this season despite having a good team. They have a really good team. Dawson is one of the nicest kids I've ever met, one of the nicest people I've ever met. Humble, hardworking, and it's really sad to see that they've struggled this season. It's not because they've even had bad equipment. It's all bad luck. They've had tons of sponsorship deals, and it's just pure bad luck at some points with this poor team. But needless to say, despite only having $3,500 in purse money this weekend, they will have sponsorship from B Water, some water company. I don't quite remember the sponsor. I was told it was $3,500. I've been told it was $2,500. I've been told it was $1,500. By multiple people within the sport. I don't know which number is correct. I hope none of those numbers are correct and that it's actually higher than that. But, you know, if Xfinity is only doing $4,500, then I assume that, you know, Truck Series is probably doing $3,500, which unfortunately, that's just a sad way of how it goes, unfortunately. But the cutoff line, the lucky breaker, was the 32 this weekend. And we did not see him at Kansas. But Brett Holmes will be back this weekend running the 32 for his own team. And he is the last truck to get full purse money. In case you guys are wondering, everybody from Brett Holmes and up will be earning full purse money this weekend. So, at least for their sake, the all beating and banging at Martinsville won't be too rough on them. But I do believe Brett Holmes plans on being at Phoenix. And if that is the case, there is just a 3-point gap to getting full purse money, but that won't actually matter. This is the last weekend of the season for the $3,500 for trucks and the $4,500 for Xfinity. Why? Because next weekend will be Phoenix, and that is a practice and qualifying race weekend. Unless, of course, it gets rained out, then 40 trucks would start. Yes. But right now, there's planning on being 36 starters for those races, which would mean just 36 starters, full purse money to everyone who makes the show. But we'll get into that more on next week's show. Our other truck battle to look out for is pretty close. The top 20 battle. The last two currently in that battle is the 19th place team. The 25 of the Rackley War Racing team. And in last, 20th, is the number 1 of formerly DGR Crosley, now David Gillen Racing. They hold the last two positions. Rackley War's got a pretty comfortable lead. They got over, I believe it's a 32-point lead over the cut line with just 2 races to go and a driver like Josh Berry in the truck this weekend, where he won in the Xfinity race earlier this year. Although the Rackley War truck is not, what you would call the race-winning truck every week, Martinsville's pretty even on equipment. If you run probably top 15 weekly in the truck series, you could easily run top 10, top 5 at Martinsville just because if you have the right track position, you can easily stay up there. Josh Berry could legitimately win this weekend, which would be awesome to see the Rackley team win. So I would say unless they have an absolutely dismal race, that the Rackley War team is just fine. The one I would be concerned about is Haley. She has had, I would say without practice and qualifying, she's had a pretty dismal year. Not trying to be rude, but practice and qualifying has greatly affected her year. They are only 10 points ahead of the 23 of GMS Racing and only 16 points ahead of the 02 Young's Motorsports team. And with 40 trucks in the field this weekend, that can easily change real fast. Now, although the 02 this weekend has driver Chris Wright, not particularly the best driver. I would actually put him and Haley kind of on the same par. And in the 23, we also got Chase Purdy, who's also had a little bit of a less than stellar season. So I think the battle between those 4 teams, or 3 teams, will be pretty close, especially coming into Phoenix, a track where all 3 of them have been before, but not particularly stellar finishes is what I mean as well. So I think that'll definitely come down to an interesting battle. And for a lot of these teams like Randy Young, when it comes to a team like Randy Young versus Murray Gallagher's GMS Racing and David Gillen's truck team, the person who really needs that bonus more than anyone is Randy Young. And that's not even saying that Randy Young is a low budget team. But when you compare the budget of Randy Young to, say, Murray Gallagher or David Gillen, it's not even close. So definitely pulling for the Randy Young team that they can hop into that top 20. They're able to stay in the top 20 for ARCA, so hopefully they can hop into there and get at least one of their 3 trucks inside for the top 20 bonus. So anyway, that's kind of the preview portion for the truck series. I really wish they would have had a race at Kansas this past weekend, because the truck series always seems to put on a heck of a show at the 1.5 mile tracks. Moving on to Xfinity, we had another action-packed weekend, a good old 1.5 mile Xfinity race, which always seem to put on the best races. It's amazing. It was a great race. Highly enjoyed it. Didn't get to see all of it, mainly because it was also, trying to focus on the ARCA portion. We were trying to get load up from the whole Brad Smith situation, unfortunately. But I was able to see the finish. Ty Gibbs, unshockingly, runs away with it. Good to see Monster Energy back in victory lane after being non-existent for a lot of the season. But we're not here to talk about the winners. We're here to talk about the backmarkers. And we saw some dramatic changes. The 52, which has just had a tumultuous year. I feel so bad for Jimmy Means Racing, one of my all-time favorite owners of all time. And it was sad to see them pulling. I actually saw them. I was able to see the start of the race. I was in the infield, but I was able to see him go by. And I saw the field. And then about 2 seconds later, I saw the 52 go by. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. And then I saw him in the what do you call that? The listed by numbers down. I can't think of the name on the spot, but you guys know what I'm talking about. They have that little screen where you can watch kind of the broadcast. And I saw the 52 on the little screen on the apron. I'm like, oh, that's it. And sure enough, I was standing in the Xfinity garage area less than 2 minutes later. Here he comes. So that was a shame to see Joey Gase and them go out so early, because they probably could have had another top 30 finish. And that's what I was really hoping for them, because they had it was the same car from Texas. If you go to my Twitter page, you can see pictures from it. It's the exact same car from Texas. And yeah, so that was sad to see, especially after they've been clicking off a couple of good finishes lately. 74, Mike Harmon, I pointed out on Twitter as well, has failed to finish the last 7 races now. Not for a lack of trying. Mike really tries. He puts out the best car he can. It's clear that he's trying to put more effort into the 47 while still trying to keep the 74 on track. But unfortunately, when you're trying to fix the problem in the same car and pretty much using the same car every week, you're trying to fix the same problem. The more things you try to fix, the more things that break down. And it was a really sad sight to see the 74 being pushed back. My buddy Ryan Bell works for that team. Ryan works his ass off. And it was sad to see Gray get out of the car so early. They actually had Gray Galding in the car this week, despite having the CJ McLaughlin paint scheme. You could actually, when I got up close to the car, you could see the SciAps logo under some white tape. I do believe it was the same car from Texas, because I did see some scratch marks on the side of the car that matched with the same pictures from Texas the previous week. So unfortunately, like usual, those 2 cars were out early. They've been the last 2 in owner points pretty much this entire season. Still 2 of my favorite teams. Love Mike Harmon, love Jimmy Means. And ironically enough, Gray will also be driving the 74 this weekend. And the 52 will be piloted by Spencer Boyd. And Gray is really good at Martinsville. He got a 21st place finish there in the Means team back in, I think it was March or April. So hopefully he can replicate that. And as for the 52, Spencer Boyd, hopefully he can just bring that car home safely in one piece. To the big shockers and the big changes of the race, the 66 of MBM Motorsports, which had Brett Baker, I believe, was the author on the car. Beautiful paint scheme, beautiful wrap. Had a lot of people there. I ran into David, ran into Carl, even stood in the line with them for the opening ceremonies, and it looked good. The 66 was running very good out there, and I believe Johnny Jackson, MBM member, told me that they had carburetor problems and unfortunately lost like 40 laps. And, when you lose that many laps at Kansas, yeah, you're going to have a couple of, wrecks or 2. Like we did see a couple of cars crash out. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the race results from last week. You had a couple of cars fall out, but obviously you're not going to see a 15-car pileup. That could still give you a good finish. And that was relegated to just 36th, where you're still only earning 1 point. And mixed in with a couple of bad runs that they've been having lately, unfortunately now, despite at one point This season, the 66 was 23rd in owners' points. And it's not because, it's not the team. It's just bad luck. I think it's just bad luck. You look at the out of fuel at Pocono, engine failures, missing races. It's just pure bad luck by the team. It's not for a lack of trying. It's never been for a lack of trying. I've never seen Carl Long not try. That guy's always trying. And unfortunately, my mom upstairs, guys. But yeah, unfortunately, the 66 has now fallen outside the top 36. So it's sad. Hopefully they can recover. They are tied with the 90 this weekend of Preston Pardus. So hopefully, if they can just beat them by virtually by one spot, the 66 will be back into the top 36 battle. But again, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, as this is the last top 36 $4,500 race of the year, unless it rains at Phoenix, which is highly unlikely. So it just sucks that the 66 was able to survive the entire season, all but one race, to earn $4,500. And unfortunately, it happens at a track where damage is really likely to happen. The 07 Joe Greff Jr. really struggled this season again. And I don't think it's a lack of trying. Again, the SS Greenlight Racing, Bobby Daughter, have an amazing team. Love Bobby to death. He's an awesome guy. I think it's just, again, rookie driver, no practice and qualifying. And it's just, I think it's just really him being a rookie. I really think that's what it is. Joe, he has his moments. He's a nice guy. Does he deserve that ride is a little bit of in the question, but I still appreciate him. I ran into him at Kansas. Again, nice guy. But unfortunately, that 07 has spent a lot of the second part of the season outside the top 36, and that is not going to change this weekend. The 66, 07, 52, and 74 are our $4,500 cars for this weekend. And like I said, based on the tiebreaker, the 90 is the last car to get in for full purse money, which actually will be driven by road ringer Preston Pardus this weekend. But again, we have in the 66 this weekend, the 66 this weekend will be driven by David Starr, and David got a 22nd place finish, and he's pretty good at Martinsville. So if I had to put my money on finishing higher, David Starr, Preston Pardus, I think it's going to be pretty tough for Preston to be able to stay ahead of David Starr, that's for sure, especially knowing what David is racing for, because every position in the owner points is going to be crucial when it comes to qualifying at Phoenix in a couple of weeks. Our top 30 10K bonus battle at Xfinity, one of the weird battles we have, changed for the better. The 4 car was beaten by the 47 car, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Kyle Weatherman and that 47 team. Just like the 74, the 47 team stayed in 38th position in the owner points, earning $4,500 a week. There was a good portion of the season where for about 7 to 8 races, both Mike Harmon cars were earning only $4,500 a week. And I don't know if it was just an upgrade in equipment or more luck on their sides with sponsorship. Kyle Weatherman got that 47 back into the top 36 and now has gotten that car into the 30th position in owner points and will get a 10K bonus this weekend at Martinsville. I am so happy for that team. They also announced new sponsorship for the last 2 races of the season. So not only got full sponsorship, an extra 10K bonus, and full purse money. So at least if you're Mike Harmon as an owner, you can breathe just a little bit that although, yes, one of your cars is only getting $4,500, the other car is going to get quite a bit of money. So very proud of them and that little team to be able to get there. The 10K bonus battle has really not been contested that much lately. It's kind of been one spot left as 29th, 28th, and 27th are over 30 points ahead. Should mention, though, that, with the rough season that JD Motorsports has been having, although a lot of their cars have been inside the top 36 now, Bailey Curry was able, with his great top 20 finish, was able to get the 15 back into the top 36. Should mention that. So shout out to Bailey Curry, who's actually been absolutely tearing it up in the 15 in his couple of starts this year. But no, 3 of the 4 JD cars are outside the top 30. So they're getting full purse money at least, but definitely can say it's been a kind of a shocking year that JD has had where they haven't performed, I think, to the level that a lot of us remember them at, especially me. And I can still say my favorite race ever was when I saw all 4 of them sponsored by Flex Seal. That was pretty cool. I miss those days. Moving on to our top 20 battle, it is so close. And it's actually one of the more fun battles to see because these are the teams, who you really can't consider these teams low budget. These are teams who have very high budgets, but not unlimited budgets. And the battle is so close. From the top 18 are pretty much locked in. It's pretty much from 19th to, I would say, about 22nd. It is a 34-point gap between those 4 cars, but it's so close with just 2 races left. The 92 and the 44 currently hold the last 2 positions, DGM Racing and Tommy Joe Martins, with the 23 of Our Motorsports and the 36 for DGM as well. I do think, though, that the 23 has kind of shot themselves in the foot this weekend because they got good old Natalie Decker driving the 23, and I don't think she's going to produce the best numbers ever. Not trying to take anything away. I just think when it comes to when you're trying to go up against Josh Williams, Tommy Joe Martins, and Alex LeBay, and then you got Natalie Decker, I think we know who's going to finish 4th out of all that. But currently the gap is just a whopping 3 points from the 44 to the 23, and then 17 points from the 44 to the 36. And for teams like DGM and Tommy Joe, these are what they're racing for every week. Stuff like this. For people think, oh, Tommy Joe, he's not going to go out there and win unless it's on a plate track. Well, these are his wins. And if he can get that top 20 bonus for Tommy Joe Martins, it could be considered, maybe not really to him, but I guess to me, kind of like a championship win. That bonus means a lot to a team like him, especially with the merger with Cesar Baccarella for next season. And I think especially for Tommy Joe Martins, for you could say his last season as a full-time driver, you would want to end the season in the most best note possible and getting the top 20 bonus. So Percy hoping for Tommy Joe to get up there and be able to hopefully it would be nice to see him win, but just to get the top 20 bonus. Moving on to our last portion, the Cup Series Charter Battle. Now, this has been heavily followed by Bob Pockris the last couple of races, and for lots of reasons. The 45 team for 2311 Racing is still unchartered as of right now. Now, the rule is that, I've explained it before, but if your charter finishes in the top 3 bottom for 3 years in a row, NASCAR has the opportunity to repossess it. And trust me, NASCAR will take no time wasting and taking that charter away from Rick Ware Racing and giving it to a team like 2311. But with this past weekend's results at Kansas, by just 1 point, the 51 has leapfrogged the 15 for Rick Ware. The 51 has leapfrogged that car and is now back inside the top 33. Now, when it comes to the cars that we usually track for the top 33 battle, Live Fast is 38 points ahead. And with 2 races left, BJ McLeod is safe for this year. They don't have to worry about finishing in the bottom 3. But the 52 for Rick Ware Racing is only 10 points ahead, or I guess I should say 11 points ahead of the cutoff line. They've got to be careful too. But Balicki's been pretty good at Martinsville, even for the Rick Ware Racing equipment he's given. Cody we've seen last couple of weeks has really had more speed than his Rick Ware teammates. And I think it's safe to say that definitely the 51 has had more invested into it than per se the other teams. Now everyone's just going to say, oh, he's just going to have the 15 layover for him every week. I don't think that was necessarily the case. I think a reason why the 15 ran as bad as it did at Kansas is because you had a guy like Ryan Ellis in the car. I'm not saying Ryan Ellis is a bad driver. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying when you have a guy like Ryan who really hasn't driven that much this season, and I don't remember him the last time in a Cup car, much less with the 550 package, you get all those factors together. I don't really see Ryan being able to put together a good finish, even by Rick Ware car standards. I believe he was the last car running in 36th. But we did see her back in the first Martinsville race that the 51, I would say this is a race where the Rick Ware cars are pretty even, and it really comes down to driver talent rather than how fast the car is. So the 51, they've got to be safe this weekend. They got to be clean and try to beat the 15 and try to close in on their teammate, the 52, while also trying to race their own teammate in the 53, but they hold a 5-point gap over that car. Now, the Rick Ware lineup this weekend, we'll look at the entry list, is pretty much the same. Of course, you got Cody in the 51. Of course, you got Josh in the 52. We have Joey Gase in the 53, and the 15 this weekend will be Garrett Smithley. So you got to imagine, though, I would actually, for people who think it's going to lay over, no, Garrett is a really good driver. And I would say at Martinsville, I think it would not be shocking if the 15 repasses the 51 because Garrett's really good at Martinsville. And I'm not taking anything away from Cody, but he just hasn't really been so impressive. Like I believe at the first Martinsville race this season, he was the last of the Rick Ware cars, if I'm correct. But it's definitely the battle to watch. And will NASCAR hold on to? Will they repossess the charter, or will Petty Ware manage to hold on to it? Because I guarantee you, Rick and Petty would love to be able to sell it to someone and make a profit off of it at the end of the year, rather than have it getting repossessed. And our final battle to cover is the top $25 million bonus battle that I've been covering lately. Unfortunately, not much to talk about it. It's been all but over now. Due to a lot of bad luck runs with the 6 team and the 37, it is now nearly a 60-point gap to the 43 car of Richard Petty Motorsports that the 37 and the 6 have to get to, and that's just not going to happen in 2 races, unfortunately, for them. So for Richard Petty and Trackhouse, 2 teams like that, the $1 million bonus for them greatly helps, especially for Petty, who has ran unsponsored a lot this season, unfortunately. As for the 37 team, it's a big loss. At the beginning of the season, they only had 24 of 36 races sold. They've managed to carry on, and I'll give them credit. Going the whole season unchartered is not easy. The purse money, I would say, if you add up all the purse money that team has gotten this season, I don't think it even tallies $500,000. I don't even think it totals $250,000. And whereas you could say like the 47 team, they probably make $250,000 3 to 4 races. And the 37 teams, I don't even think has made that this year. Props to JTG for even making it that far this year. But obviously, luck has not been on their side. And the 6 has just been terrible the last couple of races, unfortunately. And it's kind of sad to see. I hope this is not Ryan's last season, but the way he's kind of driving makes me think that he's just not caring enough, and he's just kind of trying to get through the rest of the year. I could see that, but Ryan's still one of my favorite drivers. But yeah, the top 25 battle is all but over. But I'm glad Petty gets it. A team like Petty is a team that deserves that $1 million bonus. And again, for them every week, they may not be contending for wins, but that's what a team like him and Eric Jones are racing for every week. Their $1 million bonus, you could say, is just kind of like a championship win. It's $1 million that team desperately needs because they just don't have the funds that they did even just 5 years ago. And I wish Petty nothing but the best of luck with the next-gen car. And who knows, maybe they can even squeak out a miracle win next year. It'd be great to see that 43 back in victory lane. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. So those are pretty much the battles, the backmarker battles heading into this weekend at Martinsville. Definitely going to be a fun race to watch. As like I've said before, Martinsville has always been kind of the great equalizer where even if you don't have the best car, if you have track position, you'd be shocked about how far you can really take it and maybe even squeak out a run that nobody had ever expected. Cannot wait for next week's show, guys, where we will be giving a Martinsville recap and talking about the backmarker battles where we could see huge 40-plus car fields for both Xfinity and truck. Next week's show is going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. We'll see you next week with the ARCA Racing Podcast and backmarker battles. You guys have a good night. We'll see you later. Bye.